Today is the deadline imposed by the Trump administration and DOGE for federal agencies to make more proposed budget cuts and layoffs. Some of the biggest potential cuts are expected at the Pentagon and the Department of Veteran Affairs, raising questions about just which services may be impacted. NewsNation Weekend anchor Hannah Doba is live with more on this. So Hannah, more agencies is facing this new wave of layoffs. What can you tell us?
Hi, Nicole. Good to see you. Yeah, we're learning more of the specifics. The Trump administration is calling this an aggressive reorganization of the Department of Veterans Affairs. That's where we're going to start. They're cutting 80,000 jobs. That seems like a lot, but it will actually take the VA back to 2019 staffing levels. I do want to break down the numbers for you, Nicole. So the VA currently employs 480,000 people nationwide. About a quarter of that workforce are veterans themselves. Now, since taking office in January, the Trump administration has already laid off close to 2,400 probationary workers, meaning they were relatively new to the job. Now, the 80,000 job cuts would be more than 15% of the VA's workforce. According to the VA, those workers brought medical supplies, they scheduled appointments, they arranged rides for patients. As what remains on the chopping block, the VA conducts many clinical trials and research on war and training injuries, for example, spinal and brain trauma. So a lot of that research will now stop. It will just halt. According to the National Association of Veterans Research and Education, scientists are already considering moving these clinical trials to civilian institutions, meaning our veterans will no longer be the first in line to take part in these studies.
Elon Musk is not making government more efficient. He's making it non-existent. And when he cuts tens of thousands of employees from the VA, people like me who go to the VA for our health care as a veteran, we're going to get hurt. You know, we're going to wait longer for appointments. We're going to go back to the days when veterans were dying on waiting lists.
Now, this is a sad reality. Those lines, those wait times will be longer. VA Secretary Doug Collins says veterans will not suffer as a result of these layoffs. Now, the department does not exist to employ people, he said, but to serve its veterans. The department is currently reviewing 90,000 contracts worth $67 billion. According to Doug Collins, they've already saved close to $900 million, Nicole.
All right. Well, Hannah, the Defense Department also facing more cuts that began this week. What can you tell us about those?
Yeah, we're learning more specifics about that as well. According to the Defense Department, about 5,400 civilian probationary workers, again, those new to the job, they've been working there less than a year, they've been laid off. But this could just be the start of massive cuts in the country's largest federal department. A hiring freeze is also in effect right now to reduce 5 to 8% of the workforce. The DOD currently employs about 900,000 civilians with the largest military budget in the world. Our budget for our military is $968 billion. Now, according to the Department of Defense, DOGE has already found $80 million in what it calls wasteful spending.
Look at some of the initial things that we found in the Air Force. $1.9 million for holistic DEI transformation and training. $6 million to the University of Montana to strengthen American democracy by bridging divides. At the Defense Human Resources Activity, $3.5 million for support to DEI groups.
I should mention there are reports Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth also plans on cutting 8 to 10% of the number of generals and admirals. This is across the military. We're talking Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps. Most of them will be eligible for retirement. We have reached out to the Pentagon for comment. They haven't responded thus far. So far, however, at least 5 former defense secretaries have denounced the military firing. They're calling it reckless.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.